Welcome to the Tuesday stream. Hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday morning. I am quite honestly not gonna lie, exhausted as heck. It's been a rough night, but that's okay. We'll get through some of these headlines. Hope everyone's having an awesome Tuesday morning. We have a second thought video. We have a kind of a meme story. We have a dark money story. We turn our attention to Florida as well. And the Supreme Court hears arguments for Kansas's abortion law. I'm sorry, Kentucky's abortion law. So, quite a few stuff to cover. Let's get started. You know, I never really watched a lot of Second Thoughts content, but I really like it. I think it's like perfectly digestible and very on point with the stuff that I believe. At least so far, the stuff that I've seen. I think it's good stuff. Good stuff.
Curiosity Stream. Get free access to Nebula, the ad-free, creator-controlled streaming service, when you sign up for Curiosity Stream at the link below. With the transition from Team Red Powerful Old Guy to Team Blue Powerful Old Guy, a number of important topics have returned to the forefront of the American consciousness. One of the most important issues, as is the case in any country, is healthcare. While other developed nations, and even many far less developed nations, enjoy less expensive healthcare with better outcomes than the US, American citizens are on the brink of disaster, now more than ever. In this episode, we're going to talk about the absurd cost of prescription drugs and why a life-saving medicine in the US can cost hundreds of times more than in other countries.
How did the drug improve? If I were to look at a pill and analyze it from 2005 when it cost $215 and I was looked today at when it cost $763, would that pill be the same?
I understand your question about the pill. The pill,
answer the question.
Great, thank you. I want to turn to one other number if you would help me. Do you know what this number is? Does it ring any bells?
But I think you're referring to my compensation in some way.
Yeah, well, in some way. This was your compensation in 2017 for being CEO of Celgene, and that's a lot of money. Any increase in the price of Revlimid would also increase your bonus by increasing earnings. Isn't that right, Mr. Ellis?
If revenues increased and expenses did not, then earnings would be enhanced.
Thank you. In fact, you personally received $500,000 personally just by tripling the price of Revlimid. So to recap here, the drug didn't get any better.
For absolutely nothing. It's called rent-seeking behavior.
You just got better at making money. You just refined your skills at price gouging.
What you just saw was Representative Katie Porter grilling Mark Alice, the former CEO of pharma company Celgene, over massive price hikes on their cancer drug Revlimid. The executive admitted that, despite the huge added cost to patients, the drug was fundamentally unchanged. It didn't work better or faster, there had been no improvements to effectiveness, it was exactly the same product. And yet the price for a single pill had jumped from $215, already very expensive, to $763. Where did this extra money go? Straight into executive pockets. Alice, who was already paid $13 million per year, netted an extra $500,000 simply for raising the price of a single drug. This particular exchange went viral back in 2020, but the despicable practice of medical price gouging is far more widespread than this single example. In fact, it's standard American operating procedure. Before we get into the specifics, let's look at a few basic facts about the American healthcare industry as a whole. The US spends more money per capita on healthcare than any other nation on Earth. You would assume that this expenditure would guarantee the best care in the world. That is not the case. Despite being the most expensive healthcare system on Earth, consuming over 16% of our GDP, it's one of, if not the least effective in the developed world. We spend over $10,000 per capita on healthcare. And not only is the quality of care subpar, we don't even come close to covering everybody. Compare this to places like Germany, who pay drastically less per capita and guarantee coverage to all citizens.
Yep.
There were over 27 million uninsured Americans in 2018, and that number will have skyrocketed in the last year thanks to millions of COVID layoffs across the country. Even before the pandemic, we had more uninsured and underinsured citizens than any other developed nation.
How
In addition
embarrassing.
to not covering a large portion of the population, even those with excellent health insurance, by American standards that is, struggle to pay medical bills. Over 25%
That is
of insured
absolutely
people reported having difficulty
correct.
paying for the
That is absolutely, like, even if you have, like, insurance, even if you have good insurance, the fact that you still have to pay, like, an exorbitant amount of money out of pocket is, to be charitable, inhumane, grotesque, and absurd.
exorbitant cost of their treatment. Of this group, 63% had to pay most or all of their savings to cover the medical bills, and 42% had to find a second job. Life-saving drugs in America often cost 10 times what they cost in other countries. For example, in Canada, one vial of insulin costs $32. In the United States, the same drug from the same factory costs $300. And that's not even an extreme.
Yeah, I have a friend who is diabetic, and it is a monumental hassle to go through all the hoops from their insurance company just to get testing strips and medication for diabetes. It is a monumental mission each time, and it's quite honestly ridiculous.
Extreme example. Take the HIV drug Truvada. In Australia, it costs just $8. In the US, it costs $2,000, despite US taxpayers footing the bill for its development. Every year, over 500,000 people go bankrupt trying to pay their medical bills. In a country where 40% of the population can't afford a surprise $400 expense, an ambulance ride to the hospital will cost you more than twice that amount. And all of this is happening in the richest country on earth.
Yep.
This all sounds
Yeah, I don't think that medical debt should be a thing. I don't think that medical debt should be a thing.
pretty bad,
It just
right?
shouldn't exist.
It is. Of all the things Americans choose to defend, our sadistic healthcare industry should not be one of them. It's inhumane, ineffective, and deeply corrupt.
True.
If you're wondering why our system is so awful, just follow the money. The healthcare industry spends more money on lobbying than the oil and defense industries combined. And
That I
those
didn't
are
know.
both massive lobbies. Lobbying, of course, is just a euphemism for bribery. Lobbyists make generous donations to politicians, those politicians pocket the money and write legislation that favors the donor's industry. They both make money, and average Americans are worse off than they were before. This cycle continues indefinitely, and features a ludicrous revolving door wherein politicians often go on to become lobbyists themselves. It's a twisted charade and bears no semblance to actual democracy. But why are
Yep.
pharmaceuticals so lucrative? There are several reasons. One of them the fact that the relationship between manufacturers, insurance companies, hospitals, and middlemen is so convoluted that it's incredibly difficult to nail down when any one of them is price gouging. But beyond that, it's just simple math. Nearly half of all Americans take prescription drugs. That's almost 165 million people, and it represents a massive market for pharmaceuticals. It's especially lucrative because many people require these drugs just to stay alive, so
True.
they'll pay whatever they have to. Let's take perhaps the most common example, insulin.
Hey Memmius, how's it going? Hope you're doing alright. I remember hearing Bernie Sanders talk about how some health insurance companies help cover transportation costs to get to Canada so they can get affordable insulin and other meds. Yeah, because it's cheaper for them to be able to shuttle people than just give them the... It's absurd. But how will you pay for it? I'm telling you, man, that is like the quintessential meme for healthcare, and it's just absurd. I don't understand. Like, this does not compute. Imagine medical debt. Imagine going into debt for something that is a health issue that you had absolutely nothing to do with. Imagine going into medical debt because of a condition that you had absolutely no choice in. Imagine rationing your medication because you can't pay for it. There's no justification.
There are roughly 23 million diabetics in the US, and if we expand that category to people who are pre-diabetic, the number shoots up to 100 million people, nearly a third of the total US population. When someone has diabetes, they rely on insulin. It's not optional. The average diabetic needs somewhere around 2 to 3
Well, they
vials
don't
of
need
insulin
to.
per month, though some people require much more, in the
We
range of
have
4 to 6
insulin.
vials.
We
Given
just
the
charge
price of
10 times
insulin
the
in this
price.
country, the monthly cost is just too much for many people to afford.
Alright, so I got a serious question for everybody out there. I generally want to know this, okay? How is everybody making it? How? I'm like, I've worked for like 17 years. I work all the time. I've been paying medical bills on my son for 9 years since he was born.
9 years.
He was just diagnosed with type 1 diabetes and has to have insulin every 2 hours. I just got his prescription. It was $1,000. I couldn't pay for it. I now have to go in and tell my 9-year-old son I couldn't pay for it. I work a full-time job. My husband works a full-time job. I work 3rd shift. I go to school during the day. How are you guys making it? Am I the only one struggling?
No. And that's the problem. There are millions of people like her. There are millions of people like her. When Americans cross the border and buy Canadian meds, that takes it out of the supply line designed for internal use and not for export purposes. Yeah, but they don't need to. That's the thing. They don't need to. We have insulin. We have medication. The problem is it's behind a absurd, inhumane paywall. So the issue here is the paywall. You should not be in this position as this woman is. There shouldn't be any justification as to why this is a thing, right?
How are you guys doing it?
But surely there's a good reason insulin is so expensive, right? Well, let's take a look at the drug's history. All the way back in 1922, researchers from the University of Toronto announced the discovery of insulin. 2 of the researchers, Dr. Frederick Banting and Dr. J.J.R. MacLeod, received the Nobel Prize for their work. Since these 2 men held the patent for insulin, they stood to make an enormous sum of money by monopolizing its production. Instead, realizing the life-saving potential of the drug, Banting and MacLeod sold the patent to the university for $1 each. To the people who say there would be no innovation without financial incentive, here's a prime bit of evidence to the contrary.
Right, and this has happened throughout history when medicine has made massive advances. We saw it with penicillin. I mean...
There are few things more lucrative than medical patents, and yet these men sold the rights for next to nothing. Why? Because they actually cared about other human beings.
Wow,
and not
amazing.
Everyone is so perverted by the profit motive. After the patent was handed off to the University of Toronto, the institution made a grave mistake. They licensed the manufacturing of the drug to Eli Lilly and Novo Nordisk. When the US gets its hands on something, it immediately ceases to be a force for good, and becomes nothing more than a way to generate ever greater profits. And that's exactly what happened with insulin. The 2 pharma companies patented their products, essentially creating a monopoly over the life-saving drug. Eventually, a 3rd company, Sanofi, got in on the action, and today these 3 companies account for 90% of the insulin market. You may be thinking, okay, cool, so there's at least some competition. Well, not really. Here are some graphs plotting the price history of drugs from these companies.
Wait, you can't have 3 companies essentially acting as a triopoly? Not duopoly, but triopoly, and then say there's competition. Yeah, this is like saying, oh yeah, you have choices between Comcast and AT&T here. There's definitely competition. It's like, well, no, not really.
Notice anything? The prices for their respective drugs have increased at exactly the same rate. Not at similar rates, at exactly the same rate. That's not competition. That's collusion. The insulin giants are working together to ensure that they all make as much money as possible. Well, that's horrible, but surely someone could just make a generic version of insulin, right?
Nope.
That would force the big 3 to lower their prices. In theory, sure, but here's the thing about patents. If you hold a patent for a particular drug, no one else can produce that drug for a certain period of time. When that time is nearly up, you can simply make a small change to the formula, refile the patent, and boom, you've just secured your monopoly for another 20 years. That's exactly what the big insulin producers have been doing. And here's the absurd part. You don't even need to improve the product. You just need to change it, and you need to be able to prove that it's not objectively worse. Patent law is completely broken, and that's part of what has allowed the insulin giants to maintain their stranglehold and keep inflating their prices while Americans are literally dying over the lack of a drug that was intended to be made available for even the poorest people around the world. It should come as no surprise that between 2005 and 2015, 78% of drug patents were not for new drugs, but for slightly modified versions of existing ones in order to extend their patents. This practice, paired with the fact that the FDA
So they
does not
patented something
regulate
that's a
drug
natural
prices,
part of the
has
human
made the
body.
US
Yeah, I mean, if you really break it down, that's kind of exactly what happened. I didn't think about that in that way, but yeah, that's exactly what happened. I mean, what else can you expect? These people, like, this is the same like as putting water on the exchanges, right? Betting on the futures of water. Imagine.
a wonderland for exploitative corporations and predatory institutions. The manufacturer can charge $1,000 a month for insulin. A hospital can charge $100 for a single IV bag that's worth maybe $1. Private
True.
insurance companies can make it nearly impossible to find in-network doctors, forcing you to pay absurd out-of-network rates. They can set insanely high deductibles, which will guarantee a healthy profit for the insurance company while threatening even financially stable Americans with bankruptcy. And of course, this insurance is tied to your employment. So if you get laid off because, I don't know, a global pandemic that we completely refuse to address, you'll be paying out of pocket for everything. This system is not built with the well-being of American citizens in mind. Its sole purpose is to monetize the suffering of hundreds of millions of people. When the profit motive is the driving factor, nothing else matters. Everything is beholden to the dollar. This is why insulin is 10 times more expensive in the US than anywhere else. This is why scumbags like Martin Shkreli can raise the price of a drug by 5,000% overnight. It's why so many Americans go bankrupt trying to pay medical bills. It's why we die of preventable causes. It's why our sick refuse to get treatment, because they know they can't afford it. As long as the pharmaceutical industry is allowed to operate without oversight, they will continue to raise prices until there's not a single American who can afford their drugs. Unlike the men who discovered insulin, the ones who peddle it today don't care about their fellow human beings. All they care about is making money. We need to take a look around, realize that our healthcare system is the worst of any developed nation, and demand that those in power drag our country into the 21st century. There is no reason for this amount of suffering in the richest nation on earth. If you'd like to learn more about what a modern, egalitarian healthcare system could look like, I highly recommend you check out Medicine of the Future on CuriosityStream. It's a great documentary about how advancements in medicine could extend the healthy lives of all people. CuriosityStream is an established streaming platform with a solid track record of caring about great educational content and the financial security of those who produce it.
I need to watch more CuriosityStream. I need to get like a subscription or something, because it sounds very interesting. David seemed pretty spot on. Yeah, it is, I think. I don't see why we need to be justifying this healthcare system. Well, it's not really a healthcare system, is it? Right? It's not really a healthcare system, but that's what we call it anyways. Have you watched any of the Derek Chauvin trial? No, but I did see that. I did see that there was a couple of testimonies, and I did see that there's more testimonies happening today, I believe. A mixed martial artist who witnessed the death of George Floyd last spring was expected to take the stand again on Tuesday morning in the murder trial of the former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. Donald Williams was testifying on Monday when the live video of the courtroom cut out and the judge closed the court for the day. Williams is expected to continue telling jurors what he saw on Memorial Day last year. On Monday, 2 other witnesses, a 911 dispatcher and a cashier working across working across the street testified, and lawyers for the defense and prosecution opened the trial by laying their case. Floyd, a black man who died in police custody on May 25th of 2020 after Chauvin, who is white, pinned his knee against Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes as Floyd cried out, "I can't breathe," more than 20 times. Chauvin is tried for second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. The court was expected to resume 8:30 a.m. CT Central Time on Tuesday. Prosecutors called the first 3 witnesses on Monday: a 911 dispatcher who was on call that day, a cashier working across the street who captured the videos, and a mixed martial arts fighter who witnessed Floyd's death. The 911 A 911 dispatcher who was working the day of Floyd's death told the court that she alerted a police department supervisor that something was awry in the Floyd arrest, and she was able to watch via a live stream from a city street camera. "I became concerned that something may be wrong." She said it was a gut instinct in the incident that something's not going right. Yeah, no kidding. The second witness, Alicia Euler, was working as a cashier at the Speedway across the street. On the day George Floyd died, she took 7 videos on her phone. She told Steve Schleier, a special assistant attorney general, that she started recording after she noticed police messing with somebody. The third witness, Donald Williams, is a wrestler trained in mixed martial arts who has said he has been put in chokeholds dozens of times in MMA fights. Williams was on his way to Cup Foods, where Floyd was arrested. When he encountered Floyd pleading for his life, Williams told the court that he asked officers to stop the blood choke, which is a form of chokehold that renders someone unconscious. Chauvin was doing a shimmy to make the choke tighter. See, this guy actually right here, this guy is probably going to be crucial, I think. The MMA fighter testimony was really good. Yes. Okay, so this guy is actually going to be crucial because as a martial artist, you know when you know how like things work in terms of like chokeholds, what is more dangerous, what is not, what is allowed in sports, what is not. You absolutely know, especially if you're a mixed martial arts fighter. Thanks for the follow, like Feretzi. He went into great detail of what the chokehold was doing. I bet, because that's what you're supposed to know. You're supposed to be trained in this stuff. I mean, my martial arts training is very limited when it comes to chokeholds and stuff like that, because I never really went into on the ground work. I know basics, ground defense and stuff like that, but my most of my training is like is stand up. Most of my training is stand up, so I don't know that many chokeholds or anything like that, or any locks. But I do know a lot of people that do, and I trust those who have studied martial arts and studied mixed martial arts. They're absolutely capable of understanding. I mean, this dude was literally asking the police officers to stop because he knew what was happening. He knew what was happening. Can you imagine? And like, I'm sure that this is like, if you ever watch like UFC or like mixed martial arts and things like that, you don't see that they allow that they allow somebody to just continuously put somebody in a chokehold, right? Like, they have special rules to keep the fighters safe. And a referee will stop immediately and are trained to watch the fighters to do to protect the fighters. This guy knows exactly what was happening. This guy knows exactly what was happening. Prosecutors opened their case on Monday by showing jurors the disturbing video depicting Chauvin on George Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes. The video, lasting 9 minutes and 29 seconds, played on several screens in the courtroom, complete with the audio of Floyd gasping, "I can't breathe," 27 times, and witnesses growing angry as they urged Chauvin to get up. Yeah, this is infuriating. The medical examiner's testimony is going to be the most powerful. Maybe. We'll see what they say. But clearly, this guy knows exactly what he's talking about. I think this one, Mr. Donald Williams, is good. This is a good opener. Unbelievable. And I think the 911 dispatcher was good too. Just reading the story. 911 dispatchers see a lot of things on the daily. So it stands to reason that when this dispatcher noticed something going wrong, I would tend to trust her, especially after she alerted a supervisor. Especially after she alerted the supervisor. She knew. I mean, like, you have to like admit that a 911 dispatcher hear some of the most, I guess, some of the most insert content warning here scenarios, right? That there is. They're 911 dispatchers. Their whole job is to listen to people going through emergencies or crises. I imagine her watching this. Something must have like lit like a light bulb. And she immediately alerted a police department supervisor. This is very disturbing. If the defense can prove that the knee onto the neck was not what was caused, then there may not be enough to acquit. Furthermore, defense seemed to be going for that, and it was a bad move, which I don't know if that equates to causation, but I think the medical examiner is the best defense. Yeah, I mean, they're gonna try to prove, that obviously he didn't do it, right? That's the defense's thing. It's like, oh, obviously. That's literally gonna be the defense's only Hail Mary. Despite video evidence, despite testimonies. I mean, I don't know. It seems to me like it's very clear what happened. But you know, the defense is going to try to see. The defense is going to do whatever they can to not pin Chauvin's actions to his cause of death. That's going to be the defense's play. I mean, that's the only thing that they have. And despite like numerous amounts of witnesses, video, audio, I mean, but that's what they have to argue. And I don't know if it's going to be sufficient. Arrange the circular firing squad. Either way, I have a feeling that this guy's going down. have a feeling that this guy is going down. I think it's clear that even if it wasn't a need to the neck, the kill George Floyd was a really bad move to make. Yeah, I mean, judging by this guy's history, he should not have been a police officer. Period. Period. Judging by his history of being a police officer, his numerous complaints that went nowhere, he should not have been a police officer. The reality is, though, even if he's found guilty, his punishment is probably going to be really low. The sad reality is true. It's probably true. You're probably right. Unfortunately, it's quite possible that even if he's found guilty, he'll be given a lighter sentence for being a police officer. For being a police officer, never being convicted of anything. Either way, I hope that justice is served, and I hope that this guy's in a just world, in my reality. If this was a just world, he would be made an example of. He would be made an example of. This is not how police officers should be behaving, and someone who's had dozens of complaints should not have been on the force. Either way, this was despicable. This was horrifying. This was heartbreaking to watch. I mean, I'm kind of glad that I didn't see that video. It turns out that it wasn't it wasn't 8 minutes and 43 seconds or whatnot. It was actually longer. It was actually longer. We need to be able to sue cities easier when they have bad employees. True. Hey Dustin, how's it going? Yeah. Accountability. Transparency, accountability. This guy needs to be made an example of, in my opinion. I hope he goes down. The evidence is going to be overwhelmingly in favor of the prosecution, but one biased juror could ruin it. True. Yeah, that's how trials can happen. That's true. If cities start losing money with these staff, they'll take action to remove them. I don't know about that. See New York City. See New York Police Department. They have the most lawsuits. They account for over what is it, like almost half of police lawsuits that they settle, and it doesn't seem like really affects it. But in regards to cities being sued, you can send that over to me in direct message. But you're right, Darknet. You're right. I mean, any reasonable person can see this video and understand what happened, in my opinion. Yeah, what was that last trial where a woman said, yeah, he did it, but I don't think he should be convicted for it? What? Yeah, that can happen. Here's the TLDR. 20 cities responded, and their combined financial information paints a picture of just how significant these claim costs can be. All total, the cities paid out more than $1.2 billion in their last fiscal year. Jesus. Oof. Yeah, this is going to be a heavily watched trial. And I just hope that justice is served. Who knows? Just to kind of lighten the mood, kind of a meme article. I thought it was funny. U.S. Strategic Command post then quickly deletes a mysterious message. The mysterious message? Yeah, I can't even begin to decipher that, but it turns out the Stars and Stripes reported that the brass had not yet commented on what happened. However, whoever was running the account may have accidentally typed the password to Twitter or DoorDash or some website into the message box. Oof. Yeah. Who is in charge of this account? If that's a password, my goodness. They could institute legislation where Leos have to keep in force and effect a bond to defray lawsuit costs. Wait, what was the Canadian Force's response? I'll show it to you in a second, Memmius. George Zimmerman trial. One juror had come forward to admit that she felt Zimmerman was guilty of killing Martin, but that the jury could not find him guilty under the law. Jesus. Wait, but that's your... Wait. But that's why you're there. Oh my god, that's so infuriating, Dustin. So then what was... Jesus. That's like... That's literally what you... Okay. Yeah, it's bizarre. Memmius, the response, these things happen, this might even happen to you one day, it's okay, folks. Yeah, big moment. But this is not the first time they've said some and posted some really weird, cringy stuff. Stratcom hasn't had the best track record on Twitter. On New Year's Eve of 2018, the agency shared an image of a B-2 bomber and noted the ball drop in Times Square and wrote, "If ever needed, we're ready to drop something much, much bigger." Ah, yes. Very, very tactful. Very tactful. You know, just casually saying that they'd be just casually saying, hey, you know what? Yeah, we're ready to drop something much, much bigger to, you know, kill people. Not very tactful. The agency apologized for that incident as well. Who is running these accounts? Okay, that's kind of funny. That's kind of funny. Meanwhile, at U.S. Strategic Command, that's the kitty cat. I don't know anyone who personally shared their password, and I know some pretty stupid. Yeah, I mean, it happens. However, I'm not sure if that is an excuse. It's an explanation, but I don't know if that's an excuse if you work for U.S. Strategic Command. I don't know if that's an excuse if you work at U.S. Strategic Command, okay? Because I've seen people like post their passwords on The Office, like they'll have like a little sticky note with like random stuff. I'm like, that's a password, you know? That's a password to something. That's a password to something, but you know. Understood. Details at rendezvous point. Anyways, that's kind of a meme article. Someone at Strategic Command basically just self-doxed a password by accident on Twitter. I mean, Jesus. All right. Let's switch back to some more real news. Inside the Koch-backed effort to block the largest election reform bill in half a century. Hey folks, this is a great opportunity to pay attention to what's happening. HR 1. In public, Republicans have denounced Democrats' ambitious electoral reform bill for the People Act as an unpopular partisan ploy. In a contentious Senate committee hearing last week, Senator Ted Cruz of Texas slammed the proposal, which aims to expand voting rights and curb the influence of money in politics, as a brazen and shameless power grab by Democrats. Weird. Exactly how is expanding voting rights, expanding the ability to vote, which is the most sacred thing you could do in a democracy, how is curbing the influence of money in politics a quote-unquote shameless power grab by Democrats? That's not how that works, Ted Cruz. In fact, I feel like there's a little bit of projection going on here. The conspiracy crowd must be having a blast with this one. True. How dare the majority try to... How dare we have democracy? You know, this is why I say, like, I'm convinced that the Republican Party as like an institution, the GOP, actually does not care about democracy and does not care about the quote-unquote Constitution. But the legislation, which is also known as House Resolution 1 and Senate Bill 1, they admit the lesser-known provisions in the bill that limit secret campaign spending are overwhelmingly popular. Oh, so... sorry. But behind closed doors, so this is key. Behind closed doors, Republicans speak differently about the legislation, which is also known as H.R. 1 and Senate Bill 1. They admit that the lesser-known provisions in the bill that limit secret campaign spending are overwhelmingly popular across the political spectrum. In private, they concede their own polling shows that no message they can devise effectively counters the argument that billionaires should be prevented from buying elections. Imagine sitting there at the GOP intelligentsia and attempting to seriously counter the argument that billionaires should be prevented by from buying elections. Imagine having that mentality and sitting there like, okay, let's see how we can make this happen. Let's see how we can sell the public on the idea. Let's see how we can sell the public on the idea that billionaires should be allowed to buy elections. It needs all mail-in voting. Well, no, I mean, I'm not going to knock HR 1. Washington and Colorado got 20% voter participation by switching to mail-in only. Interesting. Well, no, I don't think that only mail-in. I think you can. You should have the ability to vote as many ways as possible and as easy as possible. Just like that. Just like that. This is just like... This is just like... It goes to show you just how much they don't care about democracy. A recording obtained by the New Yorker of a private conference call on January 8th between a policy advisor to Senator Mitch McConnell and the leaders of several prominent conservative groups, including one run by the Koch brothers network, reveals the participants' worry that the proposed election reform garnered wide support not just from liberals but for conservative voters too. The speaker, hey, whoa, listen, buddy, fam. Aren't you supposed to represent the will of your constituents? If your constituents who put you in office are saying they are completely fine with HR 1, what's the problem here? So you're not even willing to represent your own constituents. Why are you there? What is the purpose of you being there? The flip side is Republicans know you don't deserve a vote, so they destroy a one man, one vote principle. True. Hey, Alio, how's it going? Jesus, excuse me. The speaker on the call expressed alarm about the broad popularity of the bill's provisions, calling for more public disclosure about secret political donors. Wait, if it's not such a big deal, I thought... it's like you can't make this stuff up. Wasn't there like an entire CPAC roll of speeches from all of these Republicans saying how they are anti-establishment and the Washington swamp and all of this stuff? Well, hey, here's your opportunity. Here's your opportunity to shed some light on that. But it seems like you're not interested. Weird. Thank you for the 13 biddies. I appreciate that. Weird. Here's your opportunity. Hey. To go against the establishment. Go against the swamp. Shine light on Washington and make Washington work for the people. It's like they say one thing and do the other. Seems to be a continuous and repeating pattern, as we saw yesterday. The participants conceded that the bill, which would stem the flow of dark money from such political donors as the billionaire oil magnate Charles Koch, was so popular that it wasn't worth trying to mount a public advocacy campaign to shift opinion. Jesus Christ. Instead, we do, look, when all else fails, you just blatantly go mask off. When all else fails, and this is how you know these people are getting scared. When all else fails, you go mask off. That consumes freedom but loves to give speeches. Where's the work? Oh, he's not interested in any of that. When all else fails, you just go mask off. A senior Koch operative said that the opponents would be better off ignoring the will of the American voters. How mask off is this? That opponents of HR 1 would be better off ignoring the will of the American voters and just try to kill the bill in Congress. Because, hey, they got the politicians, they lobby the politicians, and you best believe they're gonna lay heavy on lobbying the politicians to make sure that this bill doesn't see the light of day. They're going to lobby these politicians to make sure that this bill doesn't see the light of day. So, call to action. Hey, folks, if you live in the United States, call your representatives, call your senators, and tell them that H.R. 1 SB 1 needs to pass. If they want your vote. If they want your vote in the future, they need to support H.R. 1 SB 1 if they're in the Senate. Call to action, folks. If you're here, if you're listening, spread the word far and wide, everywhere and anywhere. If you are in the United States, call your representatives and tell them that you want them to support and represent you by supporting H.R. 1, or if they're in the Senate, SB 1. If they don't, then they won't have your vote in the future. That's what I'm gonna do. Kyle McKenzie, a research director for the Koch-run advocacy group Stand Together. Nice meme. It's told, yeah, Stand Together. I guess the little asterisk is who is standing together. Told fellow conservatives and Republican congressional staffers on the call that he had a spoiler. When presented with a very neutral description of the bill, people were generally supportive. McKenzie said, adding that the most worrisome part is that the conservatives were actually as supportive as the general public when they read the neutral description. In fact, he warned there's a large... Imagine being so afraid of this. Oh no. The populace, even including like conservative voters, are actually wanting election reform and are actually wanting a light shined on dark money. They actually want curtailing of campaign finance. Oh no. Everybody's freaking out. There's a very large chunk of conservatives who are supportive of these type of efforts. As a result, McKenzie conceded the legislation's opponents would likely have to rely Republicans on the Senate. Call your senators. Where the bill is now under debate to use under the dome type strategies, meaning legislative maneuvers beneath Congress's roof, such as the filibuster, to stop the bill, because turning public opinion against it would be incredibly difficult. So, number one, this is an admission that they absolutely. So just take a second to absorb this. God. Hey, Grolem, how's it going? How's it going? So take a moment to absorb this. Number one, there is an admission here that these dark money / very wealthy people do in fact create massive campaign strategies to turn public opinion against things they don't like, or turn public opinion in favor of things that they want. This is an admission, except in this case, astroturfing the airwaves is not going to work. Attempting to try to actually turn public opinion against an election reform bill, or an actual election reform bill, is incredibly difficult, borderline way too much resources would need to be spent on that. So, in lieu of that, they will resort and become mask off. And just the mask comes right off. They'll resort to, well, hey, we bought the politicians, we bought the Republicans in the Senate, let's use them. He warned that the worst thing conservatives could do would be to try to engage with the other side on the argument that the legislation stops billionaires from buying elections. McKenzie admitted, unfortunately, we found that is a winning message for both the general public and also conservatives. Wait, so again, and I want people on the more conservative side to see this. They aren't representing you, okay? They in fact are doing the exact opposite. They are literally doing the exact opposite. They are not listening to you. They are doing the exact opposite. I want conservatives to see, hey, listen, it's out there in the ether, okay? It's out there in the ether. If you want to take it, it's right here. It's in your face. How is it unfortunate? Imagine having this statement come out of your mouth. Unfortunately, we found that trying to stop billionaires from buying elections, trying to shed light on dark money, unfortunately, woe is us. Unfortunately, that is a winning message for both the general public, which is weird distinction between general public and also conservatives. How unfortunate that people actually want campaign finance reform. How unfortunate. How unfortunate that people actually want expansion of voter rights. How unfortunate. I have a dream. Yeah, I mean, hey, listen. I'm not saying that everybody's gonna agree with me. I'm saying if you want to see, right here in your face. He said that when his group tested tons of other arguments in support of the bill, the one condemning billionaires buying elections was the most persuasive. Yeah, it turns out people don't like that. People found that to be the most convincing and it riled them up the most. Yeah. No kidding. Woe is us, unfortunate. How unfortunate. Mackenzie also explained that the Koch-funded group had invested in substantial resources to see if we could find any message that would activate and persuade conservatives on this issue. Why are you trying to persuade conservative? Why are you trying to persuade your constituents when they have already spoken? Represent them. What? When did democracy become popular? How did that happen? Unbelievable. Unbelievable. If we could find any message that would activate and persuade conservatives on this issue, he related that an AOC message was tested. An AOC message was tested when claiming that the bill might help Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez achieve her goal of holding people in the Trump administration accountable by identifying big donors. But see, that is not mutually exclusive. Okay, these are two different things, because there are big donors that are also on the Democratic side too. So I don't know if that one's gonna fly. Of holding people in the Trump administration accountable by identifying big donors helped somewhat with conservatives, but Mackenzie admitted that the link was tenuous, since what she means by this is unclear. Sadly, he added, not even attaching the phrase cancel. Okay, maybe this was the meme article. He's sadly, not even attaching the phrase cancel culture to the bill by portraying it as silencing conservative voices had actually worked. What? How is expanding the ability to vote silencing conservatives? Unless they mean that the more people vote, the less likely it is that a GOP candidate makes it into office. That is not silencing the votes of conservatives. That is lessening the efficacy of the GOP, which then stands to reason, wait a minute, if you can't win by popular vote, maybe you're just not popular. Maybe it's you. Maybe it's you. By portraying it as, yeah, cancel culture. Hey folks, they're trying to cancel voting by expanding it. What? It really ranked at the bottom. Yeah, no kidding, because like, imagine trying to really unironically make that argument. It also kind of goes to show, like, they throw this word out to drum up outrage. Like, whenever they want to see how they want to drum up outrage, this is what they do. They just slap cancel culture on it. It's really telling. It's really telling because these are strategies. These are strategies that the GOP is testing and using and attempting and have attempted before. And the fact that this was, quote, definitely a little concerning for us. You know what that means, folks? I just wish they would toss in something about 1984. How's it going, sourcing? That's also very telling about but weak-minded voters don't know that they're being manipulated. Walking on sunshine, nice. Except here's the thing, Ricks. When it comes to something like this, nothing is working. Nothing. All of their desperate attempts that are used are generally the classic playbook. The classic playbook to drum up outrage, which is cancel culture. Which is cancel culture. And of course slapping AOC anywhere, including anywhere that they can possibly, like, you know, put her in there to drum up outrage. And the fact that this is very concerning because, like, cancel culture is a new way to, like, drum up outrage. It means that, number one, that's the whole entire purpose of using the words cancel culture. It's to drum up outrage. You're being you're being done the playbook, manufacturing consent. Okay, that's what's happened. Okay, that's what's happening. The difference is you can't mess with that when it comes to democracy, and when people realize, hey, would you like to shed light on our systems? Would you like to try to curtail the ability for billionaires to buy elections? Would you like to make reforms to campaign financing? Would you like to expand access to voting? Yeah, it turns out when you ask people this, there ain't nothing you can do about it. Gretchen Ryder, the Senior Vice President of Communications for Stand Together, declined to respond to questions about the conference call or the Koch group's research showing the robust popularity of the proposed election reforms. In an emailed statement, she said defending civil liberties require more than a soundbite, and added that the group opposes the bill because a third of it restricts the First Amendment rights. Citation needed. She included a link. Oh, her citation is a op-ed, so not. It's an opinion piece. So an opinion piece by a member of Americans for Prosperity and other Koch-affiliated advocacy groups. I mean, how, like, Jesus Christ. This is like PragerU coming out and then saying, like, yeah, my sources are, and then they link their own video. This is like saying, like, oh yeah, PragerU, here's my sources, and then you look and it's like another PragerU website or a PragerU video. That's literally what this is. But unfortunately, they'll hand on something that works for them. For this particular issue, Ricks, I don't think they're gonna find it. I don't think they're gonna find it. Which again, this is another call to action. Now that the more we read about this, the more folks, peeps. If you live in the United States, please contact your representatives, specifically your senators, and tell them to support SB 1. If they don't have your vote next time. Simple as that. Simple as that. Contact your representatives, contact your senators. If you have the ability to garner more people in your area, organize locally, and have everybody contact their local representative, not local representative, sorry, their senator, okay, and specifically senators, because it seems like this is going to pass through the House. I don't think that it's going to have an issue passing the House, or if it did, contact your senators. Everybody who lives in the United States, contact your senators. Tell everybody that you know to contact your senators and tell them they need to support SB 1. Else, they won't have your vote in the future. If Dominion wants to score big cash on their defamation lawsuits, they need to figure out how to target the Koch groups. Really? I mean, yeah, maybe, I guess. I'm sure they were involved. I'm sure they were involved in at the very least, AstroTurfing. We're providing the funding to AstroTurf. I doubt the disclosure of donor names would be found unconstitutional, since McCain Feingold previously had the stand by your ad provision, which labels who paid for the ad. True. She included a link to the op-ed written by a member of the Americans for Prosperity, another Koch-affiliated advocacy group, which argues that the legislation violates donors' freedom of expression by requiring the disclosure of the names of those who contribute $10,000 or more to nonprofit groups involved in election spending. Such transparency, the op-ed suggests, would subject donors who prefer to remain anonymous to retaliation or harassment. That's a leap of logic. That is a huge leap of logic. And seems like a very cheap excuse to not want your name. To not want your name on that. Sad. The State Policy Network, a confederation of right-wing think tanks with affiliates in every state, convened the conference called days after the Democrats win victories in the Senate runoffs in Georgia, which meant that the party had won the White House and the majorities in both Houses of Congress, making it likely that For the People Act would move forward. Participants included Heather Lauer, the executive director of People United for Privacy. People United for Privacy. Billionaires United for Privacy, a conservative group fighting to keep nonprofit donor identities secret, and Grover Norquist, the founder and president of Americans for Tax Reform, who expressed alarm at the damage the disclosure provisions would do. The left is not stupid, they're evil. Oh. Huh. Interesting. They know what they're doing. They have correctly decided that this is the way to disable the freedom movement. Freedom movement. What does that mean? Do you mean like the freedom to continuously and perpetuate this system where people like you continuously concentrate more and more and more and more and more wealth? Is that the freedom? Is that the freedom movement you're talking about? Because that's what it sounds like. Coordinating directly with right-wing policy groups, which define themselves as nonpartisan for tax purposes, were top two Republican congressional staffers, Caleb Hayes, the general counsel to the Republicans on the House Administration Committee, and Steve Donaldson, policy advisor to McConnell. When it comes to donor privacy, I can't stress enough how quickly things could get out of hand, Donaldson indicating McConnell's concern about the effects that disclosure requirements would have on fundraising. Wait, but if it shouldn't be a problem because everything is fine, right? You're getting everything good, and who cares if people know who you're being paid for? Unless you don't want people knowing who's paying for you. Donaldson added, "We have to hold our people together and predicted that the fight is going to be a long one. It's going to be a messy one," but he insisted that McConnell was not going to back down. Neither Donaldson nor Hayes have responded to requests for comment. David Popp, a spokesperson for McConnell, said, "We don't comment on private meetings." Nice meme. Nick Sturgey, the executive director of Documented, a progressive watchdog group that investigates corporate money and politics, told me it made sense that McConnell staffer was on the call because the proposed legislation poses a real threat to McConnell's source of power within the Republican Party, which has always been fundraising. Nonetheless, he said that the close coordination on messaging and tactics between the Republican leadership and technically non-partisan outside advocacy groups was surprising to see. Yeah, they're freaked out, okay? They're freaked out. They're freaked out that this is getting steam. They're freaked out that not only is it getting steam in terms of like, oh yeah, this can pass Congress, but the people support it. The constituents support it. Which is like, it is really telling. It really is to see something so popular. As this being freaking out the Republican Party. Once again, kind of begs the question, who do they represent? Because it ain't you. Speaking of which, Florida Republicans consider new election bill that would effectively ban giving voters water. Florida Republicans are considering a bill that would effectively make it a crime to give voters food or drink, including water, within 150 feet of polling places. Hey, look at that. Georgia leading the way on these random weird bills that have absolutely nothing to do with voter security or voter integrity or election integrity, but instead are focusing on limiting the amount of food and water you can give people. And it is catching ground across the country. So Florida is attempting to introduce their own. According to the text of an elections bill introduced last week, the state law currently prohibits offering voter assistance within 100 feet of the polling locations. HB 7041 proposes expanding that zone to 150 feet and includes a prohibition on giving any item to voters or interacting or attempting to interact with voters within that zone. Now, I'm okay with like making sure that people don't like harass people on the voting on the polling areas, but like any items, I mean, so you can't give like food or water, especially considering that how sometimes lines can be extensive. Number 1. State Representative Blaise Ingoglia, a Republican from Spring Hill, said in a committee meeting last week that the ban would include food or beverages. The proposal is similar to a measure in Georgia's sweeping new election law that bans giving water, food, or gifts to voters. Well, yeah, gifts, okay, but that's already illegal, I think. Whatever. Food, water, gifts, and voters waiting in line, among other restrictions. President Joe Biden, condemning Georgia's law as outrageous and Jim Crow in the 21st century, singled out that provision as evidence of suppressive intent in a state he flipped blue for the first time in decades. Yeah, why would you specifically make a law? Why would you specifically make a law to prevent people from getting food and water, if not to disincentivize people. Because you see these long lines, especially in Georgia, where they were hours and hours and hours long. Of all the things we need to worry about, we're worrying about giving food and water. Yeah, well, the idea is to disincentivize people, because like this is very particular. This happened in the previous election, in the election that just happened, where Georgians had to wait for hours and hours and hours to vote. So, I mean, if you're just kind of like trying to just get your stuff done, or don't have enough time because you have to work, and you see these long lines, chances are you're going to be disincentivized to vote. And on top of that, in this election, there was a lot of volunteers out trying to get people food, trying to get people water, make them as comfortable as possible because of the long lines. Now they can't even do that. So like, it's just these little tiny chips that they do to disincentivize. And like, you're right though, like out of all the things that we could be solving, we need to start talking about how we need to start talking about how we make sure people are disincentivized to vote. Like that's basically what it is. I mean, they could be doing so much. They could be doing so like other stuff. Hey, how about improving people's lives in Georgia? How about expanding healthcare? How about taking that Medicaid provision and expanding Medicaid in your state? Give people healthcare. How about making sure that people have water, have food, water? How about expanding education? These are all things that are monumentally more productive. But they don't care. They don't care, and as we saw in the previous article, they don't really represent you. If you want any indication that it has nothing to do with fairness, nothing to do with decency, they passed a law saying you can't provide water for people standing in line while they're waiting to vote, he said. Georgia Republicans have said that the state election laws needed tightening to improve voter confidence, except where is the evidence for that? You are manufacturing this. You are literally manufacturing a crisis where there was none, okay? That's you. You manufactured this feeling because the actual reality is, there was never any reason. There was never any real legitimate reason as to why we should have and there was never any legitimate reason as to why not be confident in our election systems. They've been working and nothing was out of the ordinary at all. This was manufactured. For years, campaigns and other groups have distributed water, sent food trucks, and had pizza delivered to voters waiting in long lines to cast a ballot. Yeah. And this affects, like, conservative voters, too. Amid a nationwide effort by Republican lawmakers to tighten voting laws in the wake of an election their nominee lost, the practice has come under fire. Yeah, like, the fact that as soon as the election was over, the first thing that they did was not, like, have some introspection and saying, like, wait, why did we lose? Maybe we should propose better candidates, or maybe, like, we should listen to the constituents. No. Instead, they do the exact opposite and say, wait, no, we can't be the problem. It's, we need to, looks at Schiff's notes. Curtail democracy. I just pictured the Raven at at the comedy club. Ooh, sorry about that, folks. So yeah, this was all based on a manufactured lie to curtail voting rights. That's just what it is. And it's catching ground on a lot of states. Please pay attention. And if it does become the you have to fight it with you have to fight it as much as possible, but if it does become law, cheers stream. Yeah. We're gonna have a cheers stream in a second. If it does become law, understand what this law means and prepare for it in advance. And prepare for it in advance, right? Make sure you have schedule. Make sure you have, if you need to take a day off of work, if you, hey, good morning. Hey, spread it forward. Yeah, get better material. It just seems like they're really big mad. Oh, I just lost my train of thought. So yeah, if this does become law, please pay attention and be prepared ahead of time. If you need to take a day off from work, try to request it as an election approaches. Try to make sure you get ample of time requested. Try to be there early. Pay attention to the new early voting hours, which are being limited. The early voting days, which are in some cases being limited. Do not let this. Do not let this be. Do not let this be a way. Do not let them essentially stop you from voting. That is the TLDR. If and should this become law. Florida COVID numbers face new scrutiny. Washington, new research published earlier this month. Stop, I don't want all these ads. Published earlier this month in the American Journal of Public Health argues that Florida is undercounting the number of people who died from COVID by thousands of cases, casting new doubt on claims that Governor Ron DeSantis navigated the coronavirus pandemic successfully. He did not. The only reason why we are doing slightly better than New York is not because of Ron DeSantis, is despite Ron DeSantis. Conservatives have celebrated DeSantis for his handling of the pandemic, which has killed more than 30,000 residents of the state. Critics of the combative governor, meanwhile, say that many of those deaths would have been prevented if he had listened more diligently to health experts. True. DeSantis resisted lockdowns, downplayed masks, and has made it increasingly difficult for localities to institute public health measures on their own. And the state could be on the cusp of a new coronavirus surge. Yeah, thanks to him saying, oh, hey, we're open for business. Florida's open, come here. And sure enough, spring breakers did. The impact of the pandemic in Florida is significantly greater than the official COVID data suggests. Hey, remember when a data scientist was trying to blow the whistle? When a data scientist was saying, hey, they're asking me to fudge the numbers. Got 2 dabs. 2 dabs. Hey, Heat, how's it going? That's 3 dabs. I was told she was criminal, so we cannot trust her. True. Yeah, so that data scientist who was saying, "Oh, you know, they're asking me to fudge the numbers," was met with a arrest warrant. And it turns out more research came through, which is corroborating the fact that Florida is downplaying the number of people who died, which is really, really weird because, like, people were saying that DeSantis was doing fine, or like, oh yeah, Florida's just Florida. It's all good. But you know, hey, I guess we should create a new and this is obvious satire. I hope people understand that. But hey, Florida's not being quite transparent about their numbers. I wonder if that has to do with like DeSantis unleashing the new strains in Florida. Obviously not. He's just downplaying the numbers. He's just not being transparent. So, for those of you that were here yesterday, you'd understand. Morning. Hey, look at that. The Suez Canal is back. For 6 days, 3 hours, and 38 minutes. It probably cost, quote unquote, us about 59 billion. Jesus. The lack of testing early in the pandemic may also have undercounted COVID deaths, which, by the way, this is also a failure on his administration, explains Daniel Weinberger, an epidemiologist at the Yale School of Public Health, was also studied the coronavirus excess deaths. Yeah, this also has to do with COVID counting methodology. In the case of Florida, researchers say that 4,924 excess deaths should have been counted as a result from COVID, but for the most part were ruled as having been caused by something else. Yeah, so their numbers are undercounted. We've had data scientists say that there's something wrong going here. So, yeah. Imagine being the owner of that ship. Hey, Renardus, how's it going? Shutting down 10 to 15% of world trade. I was so entertained by the Suez Canal. Yeah, like the scientists they freaking arrested. Exactly. Yeah, they're doing an investigation about the Suez Canal incident. It seems like there may have been human error to be involved, because the guy claimed the captain claimed that there was a wind and sandstorm that kind of made it happen, but they're thinking that some technological and human error went wrong. They're thinking that there's obviously going to be an investigation underway. Also, in Florida, the state's 25 district medical examiners are directly appointed by the governor. And this is obvious satire, but I wonder if the Floridian government has made it so that the new COVID variants are actually spreading, because Ron DeSantis controls the medical examiner. Like, do you see how like nonsensical conspiracy theories can grow out of just something that just all it is somebody's not being transparent. Okay, so this is kind of like to shut down the whole like the whole conspiracy theory. The whole conspiracy theory about it being like a lab leak or something, you know, because we've done that. We went through it. I like this emote. What happened to it will disappear when it gets warm. Professor Mako, how's it going? Homegrown, Florida homegrown COVID, exactly. Last spring, the DeSantis administration was accused of trying to keep those medical examiners from releasing complete coronavirus data. Last month, Chinese officials were accused of holding the medical data from withholding releasing the complete coronavirus data. Do you see how this works? Just put the entire Florida in the trash. Wait. I live here. No, let me leave first. Let me leave first. Roland, pack your bags. Pack your bags, my friend. Florida's going in the trash. Okay, fine. We'll start with Texas. Joke's on you, I'm already trash. No. In August, the state said coronavirus tests no longer required certification from a medical examiner. That's kind of sus. How can we accurately tally up the correct death counts if we don't have certifications from medical examiners? That's kind of weird. That's kind of weird. But yeah, TLDR, Florida is Florida, and it's quite possible that they're, as we thought originally, their numbers are much higher. Alright, folks. I'm gonna... Okay. I'm gonna take a quick break and take a second to show for myself. Folks, if you enjoy the channel and you want to support this channel, please go ahead and hit that follow button and head on over to our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. It really does help us out. I appreciate all of you guys hanging out here. You guys are what makes this channel grow. And of course, there are multiple ways of supporting this channel. You can hit us up with some donos, hit us up with some biddies. You can subscribe to the channel for all awesome emotes. If you have Amazon Prime, it's free. And we also have awesome merch, so consider checking that out if you can. And of course, my call to action to everybody is please spread the word that this is the chillest spot everywhere and anywhere to anybody. Spread the word. This is the chillest spot for news and politics, Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And I'm going to take a quick break and I'll be right back. Okay. Hey, Lonely Raccoon, how's it going? What the heck did I just miss? Look at me, I'm the streamer now. It's not time to stage. Hi, Towel? Are you okay? Oh, you're blocking our view of the towel? Towel, man, was a great host. It's not a towel, guys. That's me. I leave for 2 seconds and you guys are 1, staging a coup, 2, saying that the towel is a great host? What? I will green screen myself out and I will put eyes on that towel. Okay? I will green screen myself out of this out of the chair and I will put eyes on that towel. Or well, that throw blankie. That's Putin. Okay, Biden wants infrastructure package approved over summer. President Joe Biden is aiming for summer passage of an infrastructure plan that is expected to cost more than $3 trillion, and the White House hopes to take a more deliberate and collaborative approach with the contentious Congress than it did on the COVID rescue package. The president will announce part of his big Build Back Better package Wednesday in Pittsburgh, sweeping in scope. The ambition plans aim to make generational investments in infrastructure, revive domestic manufacturing, combat climate change. Yeah, okay, listen, I have zero faith until I see any action. Zero faith. Especially after yesterday's... hold on, if I can find it. Where was it? Is it gone? Great, now I can't see it. Oh yeah. Especially after reading through this, okay? Especially after reading through this. Alright, I gotta roll. Gotta work to do later, everyone. Hey, thank you so much for stopping by. Yeah, sorry, Professor Miko. Send me any links via DM. That's what I get for listening instead of reading chat. That was short-lived. ADT has an iron fist. True. Is way less than China's infrastructure plan for multiple places around the EU and Asia. If America wants to compete with China, they need to step up. True. Anyways, yeah, after reading through this, how am I supposed to believe Really? How am I supposed to believe anything that you say when it comes to climate change? And keep the United States competitive with China, according to the officials, it can include $3 trillion in tax increases. The final price tag is in flux, but it was expected to be between $3 trillion and $4 trillion. One White House official said on Monday night that it may end up being closer to $3 trillion. Though the White House is emphasizing the urgency, it also insists this will not be considered an emergency response like the $1.9 trillion virus relief bill that Biden signed into law over Republican objections earlier this month. The administration wants to see progress on new legislation by Memorial Day and have it passed by the summer. Now, I will say this. Our infrastructure does need to be revamped. Our infrastructure is absolutely, of course, Golem, is absolutely just atrocious, okay? Like, we have really bad, really desperately needed infrastructure upgrades. It will create jobs, so I'll say that in that sense it's good. But don't lie to me unless you... when the receipts start happening, then I'll believe you. But don't lie to me and say that you're going to start working on quote-unquote climate change. Until I start seeing those receipts. It's OWL 2024. Now it's time for another virus relief bill. CDC just extended eviction moratoriums again. Yes, to the end of June. Which, by the way, they are talking about another virus relief bill. They are talking about it. The president has a plan to fix our infrastructure and a plan to pay for it. White House Press Secretary Jen Psaki said, but we certainly expect to have the discussion with members of Congress as we move forward, but about where areas they agree and where they disagree and where they would like to see greater emphasis or not. The administration is setting up the political pace and tone for the next big priority in Biden's agenda. The COVID-19 bill, though broadly popular with voters of both parties, exposed the president's criticism for going it alone with Democratic voters. Well, I mean, we just went over a story about how the overwhelming majority of people, constituents, the people that matter, constituents, voters, said they want election reform. They want to curtail and curb billionaires from buying elections. They want to shine light on dark money. They want to have as much as easily as possible access to voting. And yet Republicans are completely against this. So I don't know if this whole, waiting for them to come is going to work. White House officials believe that this time there will be far more opportunity to win some GOP support and plan significant outreach on Capitol Hill. Yeah, only to water down your original proposals and then get no support on it anyways. As the committee in Congress begins to tackle individual provisions, including those on transportation, China, and others, the White House will encourage those efforts. Then it will work through tax increases separately, according to officials. Administration officials are sending signals that the White House will listen to suggestions and criticisms alike from both parties, and significant changes could occur during the legislative process. At the same time, congressional leaders are preparing for a go-it-alone strategy, as much was done in the virus aid package in case Congress hits a wall of GOP opposition. Well, maybe. If they grow a spine, they'll be able to do it. If they share a goal of building our infrastructure for the future, but don't like the way he's going to propose to pay for it, we're happy to look at their proposals, Psaki said. If they don't want to pay for it, I guess they can propose that too. Maybe they don't support infrastructure spending. Infrastructure marks a unique opportunity for Biden to succeed on an issue where both his predecessors, Obama and Trump, made big promises that never came to fruition. The physical infrastructure part of the package is not just about updating roads, bridges, rail, public transit, and airports. It's also expected to include broadband, electric vehicle charging stations. I guess that's good. And investments in clean energy and domestic manufacturing. Again, don't care. Until I see receipts, this means absolutely nothing to me. Half of my friends still haven't gotten the stimulus. Thanks, Obama. It's up to Congress is the same as it's coming in 2 weeks. They're asking pointless questions in the George Floyd case. What are you talking about? And domestic manufacturing making it far more expensive than what Republicans usually discuss. Sometime in April, a second package will be unveiled that focuses on universal pre-K, paid family leave, and free community college. Now that I will support. That I will support. The multi-trillion-dollar price tag means that any package will eventually need to be paired with tax hikes, drawing Republican opposition to any infrastructure plans that unwind Trump's 2017 corporate tax cuts. Biden has vowed not to raise taxes on households earning less than $400,000 a year. Right, so This is why passing tax cuts doesn't... Okay. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said Monday at a stop in his home state of Kentucky that if the Biden administration wants to do the infrastructure bill, let's do an infrastructure bill. Let's not turn it into a massive effort to raise taxes on businesses and individuals. Yeah, businesses that are multinational and individuals making more than $400,000. That's what he doesn't specify. If there is only... Yeah, true, Renardus. Close all overseas tax shelters. Yeah, but... Yes, absolutely. There should be the closing of tax loopholes and the ability to move money into tax havens. Yes. I do believe that we need to work towards that. And it's probably, in fact... and it's probably gonna take, like, an international cooperation, right? But... because obviously we have to like speak to the countries that are acting as the tax havens as well. Beyond tax increases, the Biden administration could also attempt to free up cash by changing how Medicare can negotiate prices of pharmaceutical drugs. It could also step up IRS audits of wealthier Americans, as a recent study estimated that richest taxpayers avoid paying $175 billion annually. Initially, White House officials considered a plan that would lean more on spending, but that approach was abandoned out of fears it could trigger a spike in interest rates, which itself could send federal debt payments skyrocketing. No, we don't need to do that. We have the ability to raise taxes on the uber wealthy and reorganize our priorities to make this happen. We absolutely can. We absolutely can reorganize our priorities and increase taxes on the uber wealthy and get a lot of these things done. The choice to limit the impact on the federal deficit may help the White House counter critics who say that the nation's spending imbalance is out of control. So, just really quickly, the government is not a business, okay? Depending on how and what you spend on, it's okay to take on, it's okay to take on debt. It's okay to spend. Oh no, this poor soul. Hey, folks, can somebody get this person a calendar? Can somebody get this person a calendar? Because somebody get this, yeah, last time I checked, it's 2021. It's kind of weird. I think they're, like, this person, are you like a time traveler? Are you in the past? Maybe this person is in an alternate, like, reality. Maybe this person is in an alternate reality where he's speaking to us from an alternate reality where this happened. Reagan proved federal debt doesn't matter, nobody cares. True. Time is an artificial construction. True. The Federal Reserve is a business. It's not. What? I don't believe the Federal Reserve is a business. And furthermore, I didn't say the Federal Reserve was or was not a business. I said this country, a government, is not a business. It's okay to take on debt as long as you're doing it to invest in the country. I'm Doctor Strange. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. Well, unfortunately, his prediction of something, a ton of millions didn't actually come true. Trump still lost. So yeah, I welcome you to come back to this reality whenever you're ready. I mean, is an artificial construction true? The U.S. is an issuer of currency, not the user. Gotcha. Federal spending on real-world needs creates value in the world. True. That's probably a better way of saying it than I did. It's probably saying it better than I did. Okay. But paying for the proposals with new revenue could also set up the administration to have to persuade Congress to pass a package of tax increases on the wealthy Americans and companies that combined would represent the largest hike in generations. Ooh, too bad. Republicans are objecting to the scope of the enormous package and the potential tax increases that would be needed to pay for it. The Senate evenly split 50-50. Democrats could very well once again be forced to rely on their own votes for passage. One key Republican, Senator Shelley Moore Capito of West Virginia, last week warned Democrats to go it alone approach. Warned against a go it alone approach, as happened on the virus aid plan. Nah, you don't get to stand grandstand and say that, oh well, you know, we want some bipartisanship, and then turn around and whenever you have power, you absolutely could care less. Okay. I'm very disappointed with what I'm reading because I'm envisioning the same things that's going to happen. As part of the group of Republicans who met with Biden only to have their virus aid proposal rebuffed, Capito is now wary as Democrats pile on domestic priorities into the infrastructure package. I think we need to talk to the American people and say, is this what you envision with infrastructure? Is this are these job creators? Hey, you know what? That's a great idea. Maybe you should be more open and transparent and tell the American people exactly what this is. Just like you did with the voting bill. Yeah, just like you did with the voting bill. And how did that go? On Monday, Senate Democrats indicated that they were seeking even more opportunities to go it alone, relying on complicated budget reconciliation rules to pass the upcoming bills with a simple 51 vote threshold as was done for the COVID rescue package. I mean, if you don't want to play ball, sure. Top policy aides to Majority Leader Chuck Schumer have made the arguments to a Senate parliamentarian that they could use the reconciliation bill to provision a second time this fiscal year, which would be rare. Typically, the process is only used once a fiscal year or twice in a calendar year. If approved by the parliamentarian, it would essentially create twice as many opportunities this year and in subsequent years for the social majority to approve some legislation. No decisions have been made, according to a Schumer aide granting anonymity to share the private discussions. Well, we'll see. The aide said Schumer wants to maximize his options to allow Senate Democrats multiple pathways to advance Biden's agenda over potential Republican obstruction, which will, mind you, happen no matter what. So yeah, like infrastructure, revitalizing infrastructure and domestic manufacturing, okay. And Republicans always do that, no compromises with them. Right, the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party gave concessions in that 1.9 trillion bill. They gave concessions, and they still didn't get a single Republican vote. Federal spending is like the SimCity game. Question is, who gets to write the code? Yes, we want the jobs. Exactly. Hey, that's what I'm saying. This is a great idea. Hey, you want to pitch this idea to the American people? Go for it. Go for it. No, I seriously doubt that the majority of the country is going to be against revamping our infrastructure, revamping domestic manufacturing, providing universal pre-K, providing public tuition-free college. Guaranteed that the majority of people will be in favor of this. Who's going to be against paid family leave? Who's going to be against paid family leave? They say it's to be bipartisan, but I know they're all basically on the same side, pro-corporation and anti-humans. True. Anybody here unironically against paid family leave? That's kind of a weird position to take. Anyone here against universal children education? Anyone here against revamping our infrastructure? Anyone here against making sure that we can get jobs? Anyone here against the expansion of Medicaid? Even Meghan McCain is for paid family leave now. Oh, huh. I wonder why. Alright, folks. Main story for today, or the final story, I should say. Supreme Court to hear that the Supreme Court is taking up a case to hear whether Republican Attorney General can defend the Kentucky abortion law. The Supreme Court agreed on Monday to decide next term whether Kentucky's Republican Attorney General can defend a controversial abortion-related law that had been struck down by a lower court. That had been struck down by a lower court, keeping the legal fight going. Attorney General Daniel Cameron sought to defend the law after the state's Democratic administration declined to continue doing so. The 6th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals had barred Cameron from filing the appeal. The Kentucky law restricted an abortion procedure known as dilation and evacuation, which abortion rights advocates say is a routine second trimester abortion method. Kentucky Republicans have long sought to restrict abortion access, and the Supreme Court's move on Monday highlighted the rift on the issues between Cameron and Democratic Governor Andy Beshear. 43 state elected attorney generals, which set up the possibilities that a state governor and the attorney general will disagree, said Steve Vladeck, CNN Supreme Court analyst and professor at the University of Texas School of Law. The trickier question, and the one the Supreme Court agreed to resolve today, is when the federal courts should allow one of those state actors to intervene if the other one declines to pursue an appeal. And although it comes to the politically fraught context of a challenge to Kentucky's controversial abortion law, its implications are at once much broader and much more technical. Lawyers for the American Civil Liberties Union, representing EMW Women's Surgical Center, and several doctors say that the Kentucky law imposes an undue burden on the right to pre-viability abortion by effectively prohibiting the standard second trimester abortion method. According to a 2017 article from the reproductive rights think tank Guttmacher Institute, of the 11% of abortions that occur after the first trimester, about 95% of them are dilation and evacuation abortions, which is why they specifically target this. And furthermore, 11%, they're really going to make the argument over 11% of the cases. In court papers, they had urged the Supreme Court not to step in because the lower court did not determine the Attorney General's authority as a general matter to defend Kentucky statutes. It simply said that in particular, the case at hand, the Attorney General could have sought to intervene at an earlier date. If a motion seeking to intervene in a case is untimely, the lawyers argued the intervention must be denied. Andrew Beck, senior staff attorney at the ACLU Reproductive Freedom Project, asserted in a statement Monday, the Attorney General has shown that he will stop at nothing to prevent people from making their own decisions about a pregnancy, Beck said, adding that we will continue to work to make sure that this ban never takes effect. CNN has reached out to Cameron's office for comment. In court papers, Kentucky's Deputy Attorney General Barry Doon said that Cameron has not only the power but duty to defend the law against legal challenges. When another state official declines to appeal an adverse ruling, Kentucky law empowers the Attorney General to step in and continue defending state law on appeal. Kentucky's interstate clash over abortion has been brewing for some time. In April 2020, Beshear vetoed a bill that would have allowed the Republican Attorney General to potentially restrict abortion access during the coronavirus outbreak, as well as requiring doctors to try to preserve the life of any infant born alive following an attempted abortion. As long as the right work states, gig workers, I'm kind of against bothering. I'm kind of against bothering to add paid leave because companies will just keep moving everyone else to contract work. True. We need stronger, enforceable labor laws. Wow, I didn't know that, etc. Just ignoring how D&E is critical procedure for saving the mother's life when late-term pregnancies die and the fetus starts growing septic. Yeah, but again, this was never about the woman, never about preserving life. It's just about controlling women. That's what it's always been about. When it comes to the abortion argument, it's always about controlling the women. When you break it down, right? Because it's not about preserving the life of the fetus. Never was. I mean, I've seen arguments that they want to give special rights to fetuses over the woman. That's how it works. So if you live in Kentucky or know somebody that lives in Kentucky, please pay attention to this case. This case is going to be huge. And I suspect that they're going to continue to attempt to just throw everything at the wall and see and hope that one of them sticks. That's why a lot of these states are proposing anti-abortion laws as strict as possible because they believe that with the new conservative majority Supreme Court that they feel like eventually they'll be able to win. Okay, that's the only reason all of these states are ramping up their efforts to attempt to take down Roe versus Wade. What about the babies with terminal issues? Make them live in pain for 6 months just to die? Yeah. Well, that's because they don't care. At the end of the day, they never cared about the fetus. They're not interested in making anything other than, they're not interested in making any arguments other than women need to do what we say. That's it. Plain and simple. If men, as a lady in chat, if men could become pregnant, abortions would be cheap and easy. True. True. It's funny because they've, as a troll, they've I saw this Democratic woman propose a bill to say that men have to have a vasectomy until X amount of years or something like that. I forget what the bill was, but it was just to prove a point. And everybody went up in arms. You don't like it. You don't like it when government tells you what you can and cannot do with your body. So again, it's just the core principle argument when you just kind of shift through everything, shift through all the feelies, what about the babies arguments and all of that stuff, you'll just see and come to the conclusion that it's just about controlling women. That's what it's always been about. Well, when it comes to abortion, it's just men. It's just men telling what women. It's just men telling women what to do. Speaking of, well, I mean, yeah, but that can also apply to people who have like wealth as well. Although the majority are white, that's true. How about I just ban you? I mean, we gave them a little bit of line, right? We gave them a little bit of rope, especially with that Trump 2020 comment. We gave them a little bit. That's enough. Gotta go see you, fam. Thank you so much for stopping by, Heat. I appreciate that. Speaking of which, really quickly before before I head to work, it seems like just a couple of hours ago, a ninth accuser came up against Governor Cuomo, a ninth woman. And the accusers just keep piling, and this guy still refuses to step down. Arkansas has been on a tier lately with awful regressive laws, complete abortion ban, barring trans healthcare, banning trans people, going all out. Number 9. That's right. Governor Andrew Cuomo has 9 at this point. 9 women. New York woman accuses Cuomo of unwanted kiss in 2017, which is, again, just kind of, it's just kind of the same MO, right? The same MO. Just being completely inappropriate, grabbing the whole, like, awkward kissing, which we've seen multiple photographs of, which is incredibly disgusting. It is wildly uncomfortable, inappropriate, and disrespectful. And it's the exact same MO that the rest of the women have said, and one of them provided hours of testimony, and I believe, over 120 pages? Oh yeah, I believe there are definitely receipts. He's halfway to Trump's legacy and he still won't step down? Nope. Oh yeah, I agree, Exeter. I agree. I agree. I agree. That's why I came out against Kavanaugh when that was going on, and I'm coming out against Cuomo. This is inappropriate. Inappropriate, disgusting. And yet, you won't step down. You won't even... Alright folks, it is about to be just 11:25. True JDF, all of them. The first one had receipts too. Nonetheless, it's obvious Cuomo has destroyed and affected multiple women's careers. He needs to resign. True. Is he still saying nothing? He's done nothing wrong? Well, besides that like press conference, basically saying sorry for the thing he totally didn't do, I don't think he said anything else. Alright folks, it is 11:25. Yeah, it's a half apology. I'm sorry, like, I'm sorry. I didn't do the things that I did, but I'm sorry about them anyways. Yeah. You have a good day, Renardus. Folks, it is 11:25. I have to get going. Thank you guys so much. Again, if you enjoy the content, please hit that like button. Hit that follow button. Follow us on YouTube. And please, my call to action is spread the word, folks. Spread the word far and wide that this is the chillest place to be, Monday through Thursday, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, doing the news and politics of the day. Thank you guys so much. Wonderful as always. See you tomorrow, fam. Thank you so much, JDF. I appreciate that. Thank you all for the biddies. Thank you, Alio. Thank you, KDC_Catherine, for the offline follow. I appreciate that. As always, folks, thanks for the chat and exchange of ideas. See you again. Stay safe. You stay safe. Please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love y'all, and I hope to see you guys in the next stream. See ya! Alright, we're heading over to Bleep Blop Ben. Please go show them a difficult truth love. We're heading out in, they're doing a partner push, so please show them a difficult truth love. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go.